Back to the channel, it's Mazer. Today's video is going to be more of a yap and less of a yip. So yip on out of here if you're expecting some yip, because yap's coming on strong. Today's video we're going to talk about why and how Sparking Zero could possibly get Game of the Year nominated. Yeah, you know, funny thing about the Game of the Year thing, it's always rigged. It's always just not ever what people want it to be. Except for like when it's like obvious. And even then, it's still dumb. Like, there's some games that make sense for the Game of the Year, being like Spider-Man, God of War. You know, games like that. Last of Us 1, that made sense. Very good game. Made sense it got Game of the Year. But then you have games like Baldur's Gate 3. Why did that win? Nobody knows. How and why doesn't matter anymore. The past is in the past. But the past is also a pretty good indicator of the future. And the future ain't looking too bright for Sparking Zero. Because for some reason, games like that, where you're just a guy probably trying to get girls. I mean, if you look at the games that won Game of the Year, a lot of the times the main character is pretty successful when it comes to that sort of thing. So it's not too great for Sparking Zero. Because, that player base, we're not really that good. The game doesn't show that, and the players sure don't either. But Sparking Zero has some good chances, and that is because this year has been just awful for a lot of games. I mean, off the top of my head, the only games I think that are actually like moderately important to talk about are gonna end up being Sparking Zero, Astrobot, and I'm gonna have to just say Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Not because I played it and I think it's good, but because it's Final Fantasy, and I just think Final Fantasy just naturally just carries a lot of weight. It's like the only other big name, really. Astrobot, like, it's just there. It's not really a big name. But then you have like Final Fantasy. And Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Dragon Ball is a big name, but not exactly in the gaming space. It's just existed. It's been a decent place. It's had a decent place. Fighters has definitely gave it a decent place in the gaming space, but it's not big. It's not like a major fighting game you have to play. It's not like Fighters is like on the level of Tekken or of Street Fighter. That being said, funnily enough, Sparking Zero has now beat those said games. It's outsold Call of Duty, Fighters, obviously. It's not even a surprise. I'm going to say Street Fighter, and of course Tekken. All those games are now defeated. Looking at the Steam sales numbers, I'm not going to pull it up because it's a yap and not a yip, and that would be kind of yippy if I did that. Yap-wise, just trust me, bro, on the source. Sparking Zero, I think even its pre-order bonus one has actually sold more than Call of Duty, and obviously it's going to be selling more than Street Fighter, since Call of Duty is definitely selling more than Street Fighter, and then Tekken as well. And now at least, Sparking Zero is the most popular fighting game of all time, the most popular arena fighter of all time. It's the best anime game of all time as well. It's got a lot of accolades adds to its belt. It sold 1 million copies in 24 hours, which is a lot more than can be said for any other game in terms of fighting, at least. Fighting games just don't do that often. I mean, it took like a year for I think it was Street Fighter or Tekken to get 1 million copies sold in a year. And like, come on guys, get on our level. Sparking Zero is that good. I can't play it, but I can trust you that I am aware of the greatness that is Sparking Zero. And that's to say all that, and for it still not to be Game of the Year. You could probably ask any non-Dragon Ball fan, and they will not say it's Game of the Year. And why is that? That is because it's not Game of the Year looking. And that may come as a surprise, because honestly, this is the most stunning game ever this released this year. Probably the most beautiful game that's released this year. That's the thing, though. It doesn't look like a Game of the Year game. If you guys don't notice, all Game of the Year games look the same nowadays. By nowadays, I mean in the last couple of years. Maybe it's just me, but Elden Ring looks a lot like God of War. God of War has the same style as The Last of Us. Spider-Man, as cool as Spider-Man is, as much as I enjoy that game, it's the same style of The Last of Us. All they did was change the models. It's like the same engine, just made a different game. And to the degree it's true, but like, it's not a very unique. None of those games are, I would say, unique in their looks. But of course, they make up for that in their gameplay. But look at those games; they all have a very similar look, and also there's not to mention they all are story games, which is kind of broken actually. If you want, it's weird how that works, but actually, story games just naturally have to be Game of the Year. I don't know who said it, but apparently now, if you want to be a game that actually like deserves any type of credit, you have to have a story, and that has to be the main focus. And if you guys have played Sparking Zero, or even seen a review, or even just watched someone play the game, you'll know that the story is not exactly the highlight of the game. It's certainly not bad. It's certainly there. The what-ifs are amazing, immaculate, but it's not the main part of the game. The main part is you beating up people in the actual PvP. So of course that's probably a big old scratch right on its chances of getting into Game of the Year nominee situations. And that's not too good because, you know, I really want this game to win Game of the Year. And I believe there's no other game that should win Game of the Year. Looking at what's coming out this year, I think all that's left in terms of what is coming out is going to be Sonic, which I think it's going to be coming out too late to even get Game of the Year. So Sonic X Shadow is not going to Game of the Year. And also, Sega will never release a Game of the Year possible game because they will always have to feed their niche audience, which is me, weirdly enough. But, you know, I don't think Sega can ever get Game of the Year. Just because it's Sega. I don't think they'll ever really try hard enough to get to that point. So I'm going to lose hope on them. And obviously, there is a lot of bad rep for just being an anime game. A lot of bad rep. I mean, that's probably the biggest issue, because like people have just come out of seeing the most horrible anime game releases ever, like the garbage Demon Slayer Mario Party game, or the horrible Curse Clash game. You ever heard that one? Yeah, neither. Sadly, I have heard of this game. But, you know, there's also games such as Dragon Ball The Breakers. That game exists. It should be free, but it doesn't. It isn't, I should say. It isn't free, and that's why it isn't doing well. And then, of course, there's even more garbage to be called out. But I'm going to save you the time and just say there's a lot of bad anime games. The last time Dragon Ball was good was all the way back. I'm just going to say Fighters to save some time. But if you ask me, it'd be Xenoverse 2 era around that time. And then, of course, Naruto hasn't been good since Naruto Ninja Storm 4 because Connection sucks. Demon Slayer has the one good game, and then the other bad game, and then, you know, other animes just don't ever have a single good anime. Did you know there was actually a Hunter x Hunter game? It sucks. I mean, looking at it, it's just not good, but, you know, you can pirate it on your PC probably. It will be able to run on a PC, guaranteed. You can play it on a browser. It will be playable on a Flash if Flash was still here. Rest in peace. But still, it's a pretty bad game. Just to let you guys know. The point being, anime games don't really have the best chance of winning Game of the Year. I can't think of a single time an anime game even came close to winning Game of the Year. This would be the closest we'll ever get to it. And Sparking Zero has made so many headlines for just breaking the game. It's got the potential to really just get up there. It's one of those games that actually have love in it. And I'm gonna go ahead and say that the Final Fantasy VII remake does not have as much love into it as Sparking Zero. Even though it's technically a remake, it's doing a lot of original things, so I'm not gonna say it's a remake. It's really a hard remaster. A hard remaster. I guess they did Mortal Kombat 1 right, if that makes sense, which it should make a lot of sense. It really should. Especially since Mortal Kombat for some reason just like releases like game exclusive DLCs, which makes sense obviously, but if you know Mortal Kombat, you'd understand. If you're gonna release Ghostface in one game, go ahead and put him on all the games. I don't want to have to go back a generation or two of Mortal Kombat to play as Ghostface. Like, what's up with that? I think it's actually not Ghostface. I think it's Terminator. I think Ghostface is actually newer. Who cares? Garbage game series anyways. The point being, Sparking Zero, as much as I want it to win, I have a strange feeling that it just won't win. In fact, there might even just be a certain game theory video talking about what is the most likely game to win Game of the Year of all time. And it might sound a little similar to what I'm talking about right now because I watched it. And now I'm recycling some points while trying to add enough flair to make it my own thing because I want to be creative and original, but just a tad bit. just a tad bit. But of course, there's more to the conversation than that, guys. There's also some slander coming around town. We're coming around town, And let me just say, there's no Nintendo game that deserves Game of the Year. Right off the bat, nothing from Nintendo deserves Game of the Year. Breath of the Wild was the closest I was ever saying to maybe it should win Game of the Year because of just the crazy amount of stuff it was doing. Like it was supposed to compete with Lego Fortnite. Well, it wasn't supposed to, but like it ended up competing with Lego Fortnite and it won because Lego Fortnite just no one plays it anymore. Sad to see that. Not really. I don't play it either. But that's that. Spider-Man 2, great, way better than Breath of the Wild. But of course, neither of those won because Baldur's Gate is just so superior for some reason. No one I know plays that game. No one ever I know plays that game. It's just a game that you can possibly play, I guess. But who knows? I guess there's somebody out there who's saying, "Oh, geez, man, we gotta play this Baldur's Gate game." No, Astrobot. That game fell off. By fell off, I mean people talk about being original, being fresh. It is. It's all those things. But at the same time, it's a game you can play, then stop playing. It's like, okay, I played it. And that's one of the issues with these creative games. These creative games have the way you want them to be ran, the way you should play them, or rather, the way you get more people to buy those games. You kind of have to either make them extremely cheap, or at least relatively cheap compared to competitors, or you make them free or accessible, very accessible. Let's take a trip down the game ladder here. Minecraft is such a successful game, despite it not being that impressive compared to other games, because it's cheaper. You can buy it for $20 on the PlayStation Store, and then you can get it on your phone. You can get it on everything. You could play that thing anywhere with anything. That makes that game infinitely more valuable. I have the game, and I regret having the game because I will never, ever, ever play it again. That's not true. I'll probably play it eventually again. But the point is, I don't play it a lot, and I feel like I kind of wasted $20. Like I'm in the more for like a DLC or something or whatever for a game that I actually do like playing. The point being, that is still way better than having a $60 Astrobot game. Not very good. Not very chimichanga. Not very good again. And that's like the only two other games I want to talk about even being possible for Game of the Year. Because Call of Duty's not winning. Call of Duty will never, ever, ever be successful ever again. They've reached their point. They're going down the Halo route where they're going to release a really bad TV show pretty soon. Honestly, I'm putting it right down. I'm putting it on my bingo scratch card for, we'll say the next year or two. Call of Duty will release a show or movie. Will it be good? Probably not. I mean, it's pretty easy to get war right when it comes to movies, to make it entertaining at least. But they'll probably mess it up, so that's going to be the end of the video, guys. I want Sparkers to win, obviously. Want to win Game of the Year. Is it going to win the Game of the Year? No, because the entirety of the Game of the Year awards are biased towards not only Sony, but just in general, like, just that type of game. The story is the third person story games. They just love those to death. Man, they see Sparking Zero with first person story. You just lost yourself some points. Is this guy not getting himself into a situation where he's forced to be a father figure for someone else? Not good. That's how you get Game of the Year. That's how you get Game of the Year, guys. Oh man, hold R2 to swing, or better yet, press L3 and then the X button at the same time, and you'll do a quick turnaround. That's in a lot of Naughty Dog games and a lot of games that get Game of the Year. So see you guys later. Chimichanga once again, and maybe the real Game of the Year was the games we yeared of friends along the way. Yeah.